Okay, so we've started recording.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you well. Yeah.
So first of all, hey Tim, so good to see you again, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm going to be really quick tonight because I literally have a Dutch exam in 30 minutes, so I better don't miss that due to this reason. And just to go back to Jenny's question, I think, yeah, so I'm German, native German, and I'm currently living in Belgium learning Dutch because Dutch is a language that opens a few doors here where I live. And well, as you said, it's not the language I studied with most passion. It's just very useful here. But yeah, I will tell a bit about what happened to me, basically. So I studied food science and nutrition in northern Germany, which is basically where I am from. In the middle, there is a photo of me and my dad, who is a farmer in the middle of one of our sugar beet fields. So I was German, studied in Germany, had German friends. There was never so much need of learning languages, even though in school I learned French, English, and also a bit of Latin. And I think I was a good student in languages and I always wanted to continue, but find too many excuses. I never really took the time, thought, well, when I'm concentrated enough at college, I should rather read some papers or like do things that are very good for exams or whatever. So I kind of always waited a bit until I had graduated. And after my graduation, and this is how we know each other, I became one of Tim's students in his lab. So I would call that the end of my procrastination problem. When I was Erasmus student, working in the lab, and the nice thing was that once I finished the trials in the lab, I actually did not have any thesis or homework or studies to do anymore, so I was free. And then I started again so many things that I did not do during my college years, like reading a lot. So every lunchtime I went to the library and just picked out random books, like really everything. And I had this one book that played in India that was somehow interesting, and I thought about it a lot. And then I just thought, well, what does this Indian language look like? So to be honest, I did not even have a clue how many Indian languages there are. And I just picked one and found a book with a good grammar explanation and good explanation of the letters. So I familiarized myself a bit with the Hindi alphabet. So that was a bit different than alphabets I've seen before, but it was so fun actually, because I felt that, you know, at the beginning, it all makes no sense. And then you recognize the syllabi and you can form small words and you really start reading again. And it was much easier than I anticipated it to be. So then I was into it and so was studying the grammar, was studying the sentence structures, and was really studying every day, 1 or 2 hours or even more. And that was never something I could have imagined, like just pick up a random language and learning it. And I liked it so much that I applied for placement in India because I felt I would really like to use it on the spot, and was fortunate enough to be chosen. So after I finished my work at Tim's lab, I went to Himachal Pradesh in India. So that photo on the left is actually not in Himachal Pradesh, but it was during the time I was there. And I was working for an organization where everyone spoke English very well. So it wasn't really a prerequisite to speak Hindi. But the surrounding villages, because it was very rural, nobody spoke English. And it was so nice to be able to chat with people and to use it. And everyone was so happy that somebody actually made the effort of learning the language. And then there was Poonam, who is in this picture with me. She's a secretary of the organization, also did speak zero English. So she and I became, I would say, friends maybe. We were very close, and she very often invited me over weekends to her house. And she never did that to any other students. So I felt a bit honored. Here we are having some chai in her bedroom for some reason. I really don't know why that happened, but I remember it was a nice day. And I mean, yeah, we could talk, and she couldn't really talk to the others. So she would always pick me and then also bring me to weddings and festivals around. And I felt that I had quite a good experience because I tried to learn the language and was curious talking to people. And that was just really nice. And I always thought, like you cannot just learn a language on your own. Like, that was the image I had from school. You practice it years and years and years, and it goes slowly, and then eventually the outcome is all right. But learning it by myself, because I felt like learning it without any pressure, was so nice. And after I left India, I started in a future leader program of sugar factory, sugar producer, sugar business company in Europe, and they sent me every 4 months to different places, and that was during COVID, so it was very lonely. And 4 months is not really enough time to make friends at a new place, so I had a lot of time for myself and studied a lot, different languages, all kind of different languages. And just a few weeks ago, I was sent to Leuven in Belgium, which is my favorite city so far. I'm so happy to be here. And here is a big university where so much is going on. Like on the left side, I picture it is there's a Hindi language walk, like for all different levels. You can just go there, and that exists for any language, like really any language. And then there's a language swap where people are so active, and in a matter of, I think, 2 hours, I found a Hindi-German tandem, which is like quite a random combination in Belgium. I feel that it's so great. And then I have this book club in Brussels where most of the members are working in the European Parliament, and there are so many places, and I made so many friends because we share this interest in language. And I feel this is a real big reward. So I'm really, really happy that I finally stopped procrastinating and started learning a language in my own speed, and just as I liked it. And yeah, I think that's a big thing about learning languages, that it connects you with people. And this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for being so patient.
Yeah, many thanks, Rebecca. Best words at the end, connection with people. And as we've heard many times during today, it's connection with people, which is just as important, if not more so, than just transmitting the information via language. Does anyone have any questions?
Me, but I'm afraid this is a stupid question. So sorry for my ignorance about India. But so you learned Hindi, and so did you pick a region of India where they speak it, or do they switch to Hindi for you? Because I know the different regions have their local language.
Yeah, so both of it was true. I was picking a region where Hindi is spoken, but many of my friends that I met in India are from different regions, and some of them, we would usually talk English, but not always, because they were curious to see what is my level of Hindi. Actually, it was like little exams here and there for me, but yeah, so I choose the region according to the language.
Great. Yes, and I think my father has a question as well. Please.
Yes, Timmy. Rebecca, thank you very much for that wonderful talk, and thank you to Timmy for inviting me to attend. I found it a most inspiring day, and this is a question I'd actually like to put to everybody, not just to you, though maybe you can answer it very well. And that is this: Timmy advertised this as a language in science. Am I not right, Timmy? Language in science.
Correct.
So whatever we may think of it, the mere fact that we're speaking in English, it is the fact that at the moment, English is the leading language of communication and science. Yes. My question to all you wonderful polyglots is, what other language is better placed than English to be that leading language? What other system of communication would you recommend to try to get a true lingua franca, which everybody could adhere to? What ideas have you got?
Right. I have an answer, but I'll throw it open to everybody first to respond. Many thanks for asking this question. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go into debate with my father now. So, this is right. You bring up actually a very good point. Is there a better alternative, to English as a lingua franca? Now, suppose, for instance, we were all the use of English as a lingua franca certainly has some disadvantages in science. So it favors people who have English as a first language, as Guyana was saying in her talk earlier today. It also favors those who find it easier to learn English. It also not, as I said, not everybody wants to speak English. Now, one could of course say that if the lingua franca was Albanian, then we would all have the same. We would have a similar problem, because those who speak Albanian or find Albanian easy to learn would have the same. There would be the same kind of problem. But the way I see it is that that's not really what we're trying to do. What I think I would not advocate for, and what other people, I don't think other people are advocating for either. Nobody's saying, I think, that English should not be a lingua franca. Rather, we're saying we should not limit ourselves to English as a lingua franca. Speaking the lingua franca of English is not the best option, in my opinion, in every sort of situation. So the strength of English that you can see here is that people admit it's probably the most popular second language. So people here who have come can understand it. However, it's the worst language, I think, as I was mentioning earlier, if you actually want to make a connection with people. First, I was talking about how it's harder to make a connection with English native speakers via English. If you wanted to make a connection, as Rebecca said at the end of the talk, would you rather do that using English, which well, one could say is rather a boring alternative that people may not have learned because they're interested in Anglophone cultures, but because out of a sort of necessity to be able to transmit information and to receive information? Or would you rather do that in a language that they would like to communicate in? So it's like, if I think people have talked about the Nelson Mandela quote today. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, it goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, it goes to his heart. We're not, again, no one's advocating replacing, I think, English as a lingua franca. That's not the challenge. The challenge is to encourage people to speak lots of languages, to get the benefit of speaking these other languages in addition to speaking English as a lingua franca. Actually, I'm glad we're having this discussion as well, because we talked today mainly about false dichotomies of like this sort of forks between languages and science that really should not exist. I think as well that there's a sort of false idea that either we have to have English as a lingua franca, or we have to have another language as a lingua franca. Really, we can aim for both. We can aim for encourage everybody to speak English as a lingua franca. That's great, but don't limit yourself to English as a lingua franca, and don't assume that English is always going to be the best language.
Thank you, Timmy. That's very good. I was thinking maybe you'd tell us to all learn a pointless language.
Yes, no. I'm saying certainly learn English as a lingua franca, and learn all the pointless languages you want to. Yes.
Good. So one day we might do it all in Norwegian.
Well, actually, that would be a fun to do, and I'm sure Sam, you can organise this. But I'm also very much in favour of the idea that one should not be scared of speaking a language, even if one speaks it badly. So, I mean, Sam, if you organise a conference in Norwegian, I will learn the pointless language as well, but just only one of the 3 types of Norwegian in order to participate. Yeah. So, any other? Yeah. This. Yep.
Lara has an idea.
Sorry, somebody had a... Oh, yeah, I think you'd have to invent a new language, one with certain features such as consistent grammar, spelling, a grammar with fewer irregularities, etc. Yes. Well, I'm sure people are inventing new languages as we speak. I mean, I know that Tolkien, actually, who invented Lord of the Rings, he was, I think, a linguist in the first place. And he actually, if I'm not mistaken, he invented his world in order so that he would have beings that would speak all his languages. I don't know how regular his languages were, but I'm sure there's no shortage of people trying to do that. I'm sure. Right. I think it's time. If there are no more questions, I think it's time for me to do my summary at the end. Firstly, thank you all very much for taking part. And firstly, somebody I want to thank. So Veronica, could you come here and yes, so everyone can see. Thank you very much, Veronica, sort of my visiting researcher. She has been our doorman all day, and she has let you all into the chat online. So without her and her letting you in for 9 hours now, we wouldn't have had the rich experience that we had. Quickly, if I was to say three things today to sum up, what I really liked was that you all spoke with so much passion and interest, just as much as at a scientific sort of conference. The second thing I would say is, no more forks, please. No more choosing between science and languages. That's one of the main messages for me. Another one is what Lindy was saying, which is apparently I said today, don't leave languages in the pub. So that's going to be the second message today. Speak it all over the place, not just under the influence of alcohol. Yes, and the third one, well, I'll think of that. I will be sending you all what do you call it? Ich habe es vergessen jetzt. Ein Fragebogen. A questionnaire. Yeah, a questionnaire. To get more feedback on this, because judging by the interest that you've all shown today, I think this is definitely something worth pursuing. So, as I said, as the Dutch say, we're not sort of framed aimed in debate. We may be sort of strange ducks in the ice hole, but we're all, and we don't know about each other because we're in different ice holes, but we are a flock. So, I think we can do something together. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much, and take care, and I'll be in touch by email. So
thanks a lot.
Thanks to Tim for organizing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so
You can relax now.
okay. Yeah. Oh man. Yes. Oh yeah. So